There we go. Now we're live.
All right.
Now we're live. Good morning, Frankie. How you doing?
Good morning, Master Cox. How you
All
doing?
right. I'm good. I'm good. Sorry, we're a little bit late. A little bit of technical difficulty. Texans.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
we know. You got to crank the internet up just right for us,
this,
One
so
thing about
this is
Texans is everybody's proud. No matter if it's good or bad, you're still proud.
that's right. It doesn't. Well, that's true. So, with no further ado, this is gosh, I think what number are you of mine? 22 or something? 21? What?
I'm 20.
What?
I'm 22 on your black belt wall.
Right. On my black belt wall, you're number 22 of my black belts. And we'll talk about that a little bit here. And I'll let you talk about a little bit about yourself, where you're actually from, your kids, your family. And with no further ado, this is Frankie McConnell from Acton's Karate out there in Acton. Still a nice little town.
Yeah.
A nice little ranchy town. So with no further ado, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit, Frankie, and we'll get going.
Okay. So I'm Frankie McConnell, like Master Cox just said, from Marshall, Texas. That's my hometown. Same hometown George Foreman's from. And, I got my Rams hat on. But Odell Beckham Sr.'s from that town. Odell Beckham Jr. on the Rams now. So anyway, just had to throw that in there. But I've been a Rams fan since 75, so I'm not a bandwagoner. And, it was rough being a Rams fan living in Texas.
I can't imagine.
So we're all from Texas. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law live out here, but father-in-law lives back in Texas. And we're all just out here in Acton, which is kind of a little country town that reminds us a lot of Texas.
Yeah, that's definitely. We'll talk about that a little bit as we get going. So, I was really I'll tell you this, when I put out our live that you and I are going to go live today, I was really impressed with how many people liked it, were excited for you, and everything else. You're one of the top ones that on how many likes and everything we got from, which speaks volumes for you for what you've done in that small community and all the years that you've been there. So, I'm sure. Once we get done with this live, then by end of day, I'll have an audio of this too, and you'll be able. I'll send you the link, and you can share it, and people can also listen in their car or whatever else. So I do live like this, but audio is where I started, and audio is where I've always made sure that any of our live stuff goes that way, because I want to make sure people can listen in their cars. And sometimes you can't hop on live, it's a little bit more distracting when you're driving and stuff like that. So
I do like being able to go back and listen to that. I've done that a few times myself.
Yeah. It's good. Yeah. You've been I appreciate that too. You've been pretty interactive on my podcast and what I'm trying to do. And, it was time for some of you guys, you see, I've been kind of running down the gauntlet on who's been black belts of mine. And it's time to talk to,
you're going in a reverse order. Cause it's been a while.
Yeah. The ones that are that, why I'll tell you why how I did things, it, like anything else, things are a skill, and you have to kind of, work your skill. You know what I mean? So, people that are more in it with you every day, it's easier to ask those questions and stuff like that as you kind of get your bearings about how to do this. And I got a coach too for podcasting to kind of help me navigate through and make a better interviewer and stuff like that. I started this just because I wanted to have a legacy for my kids. When something, they always have something to go back on me and listen to what I thought and everything else, and then people's lives who we've interacted with. So, let's talk about let's talk about how we met. Okay, we met. Okay. I think that if we met for. I think you found me through Black Belt Magazine.
I did. I was at that age, I think I was probably like 25, 26, and I was reading that Black Belt magazine, and we were training Tang Soo Do, and it was just strictly traditional white, no black tops, no black bottoms, and that caught my eye. I was like, "Look at this guy! This is Tang Soo Do, and it's black." I said, "Hey, check this out, Anthony. we got to go down there. So that was before internet. So I just call you up, and that's pretty much how we started.
Right. So Black Belt Magazine, Clay Pearson saying hi to you. You know Clay, right? From out in Georgia?
I do.
That's right. He's saying hi to you today.
At?
Can you see it? Can you see it? I shared it on screen. Did you see it there?
Okay,
there he
I
is.
see it.
Yeah.
Man, I feel like a rookie at this.
Yeah, you are someone.
I should have practiced.
You know what? But it's your accent that everybody just kind of likes. You know, I noticed when Carson comes out, he's got that Southern draw, so it's just everybody just likes you. You know, so I don't know what's up with that. But it's just the way it
I'll
goes.
take what I can get.
Yeah.
I'll take what I can get, and if I can get extra points like that, I will. So there you go.
So I think back in the day, isn't it funny how I found Terry Brumley, my mentor, I found through Black Belt Magazine too. He was School of the Month. Way back then, Black Belt Magazine had Schools of the Month, and I believe Chatsworth Karate was a School of the Month, and I think that's where you saw me.
That's exactly right. I still have that article.
Yeah. Do you really?
I do.
No
it's
way.
Somewhere. We've got all the stuff. You know, I won't throw anything like that away.
Yeah, dude. So
my wife is not listening. She's like, "Oh, he's a hoarder. He'll keep everything."
Let me tell you something. Nathan Carlin is like that too, and Robbie is like that too. And Robbie just brought me my when I could finally afford a brochure. You probably remember it. It was a black and white picture of me doing a front kick, and it was right. That was my very first one, and he had one, and he brought it to me for me to have. So if you find Black Belt Magazine, dude, where I was School of the Month, then I would like to order that Black Belt Magazine, because I don't have that. You know what I mean? I don't know why I don't have it, but I don't. But that's awesome. So anyway, I remember.
I think it's. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I think it's November '93.
November of '93. Okay, well, you know what? That's a good one, because I'll start there and see what we can find. That's you just brought me back, thinking about that. I remember the guy that was doing this School of the Month thing, and wow, I wish they were still doing it. I thought that was always so good. There's so many. Can you imagine how we've evolved since then? What schools could be, you know what I mean, and what that is, and out there in the fighters and all that kind of stuff. But so I remember the phone call. You were, I think you didn't really have an instructor at that time, correct?
We didn't. We were just kind of doing it on our own. Well, what happened was, I guess the studio was sold to someone different, and all of us guys, I don't know, with the adults at that time, there just weren't that many adults. So he lost a few adults, which wasn't that big of a deal, but he kept all the kids, and we left, and we wanted to keep Tang Soo Do, but with the politics involved, we couldn't switch dojos, or as they say, dojanes.
Yeah, so I remember. I mean, you guys made a move. I said that I would come down. You guys come down, and I'd let you test with our guys. And you guys were, we're a little different, right? But the same. I think you were in the Muda Kwan background, and you saw a little bit of differences. You guys could definitely fight, and so you fit into Chatsworth really well. You know what I mean? And so that was kind of the start of how you got to California.
Absolutely.
Now, I don't know. Were you married then too? Correct? Were you married at that time?
No, I wasn't married. I didn't get married until 2001.
So
we just had our 20 year in October.
Yeah, that's a long time. That's a long time. I know. I used to have one of those. So let's run that back, Frankie. When you got your black belt, did you go back to Texas to teach for a while? When did you make a decision to come back out here?
I tell this story so much that I think I'll always remember it, because people will say, "How did you end up in Acton?" And so there was that first part. So what happened was we had a gym, or I had a gym with a partner of mine. His name was Mike Shinneman, and we just had our little studio, or little dojo in the corner. I mean, this building was like 7,500 square feet. It was huge. And then we moved. And one day you called me up, so I got my black belt in March '94. You called me up, must have been April or May. We kept in contact, and you said, "Hey, I got this. There are these people that are leaving the state, and they have a Tang Soo Do studio. I'm like, and all this was just music to my ears. And so, because construction has always been on and off, I was doing roofing and painting, and just, it was just a dream to want to be able to do something different. And if I could teach martial arts, shoot, I'm down for that. Sign me up. And so I loaded everything up in my little Nissan pickup. I had a sport bike, a toolbox, and clothes, and it took me 27 hours driving, but I got to your place in Simi Valley. And that's kind of how, it was only a few months after I got my black belt that, you got that opportunity to take over the Acton program.
Right. I remember that part. You're kind of, you're clicking memories back to me. Now, did you stay with me for a while? Did you have a place already?
I did. I stayed with you. What happened was I stayed with you in Simi. I think I had the couch.
Right.
And I think Bo had a room. No, here's what it was. Bo had a room. There was a trundle bed that came from that bed, and I was on that.
I got it.
So Bo, what was Bo, like 17 or so?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So I would just kind of stay out as long as I could, did not, because you had a young family then, and I would just kind of stay apart. But I noticed that when I would go to Acton, it was only 2 days a week at the time, and it just felt different. And I'm like, I need to get in this town. So I think I stayed with you maybe 2 or 3 months, and then I ended up renting a room from a local family. So
got it. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, so I remember us when we had this, Acton was more, I mean, you and I were making this commute, right? And I think at one point I just said, you know what, I can't continue this route. Let's have you take this over. This be your thing. And, and that town was like a small town. It was just like kind of what you're used to. And I got to tell you, Frankie, you've been there for how many years now?
28 years.
Yeah, 28 years now. I mean, that's
isn't that crazy?
Right. That's and you had some ups and downs in that town. Mm-hmm. You've even had some. I don't know if you had a flooding, if I remember right, in the school. And
I've had two, and luckily the last one they called me when it was happening, and me and we're getting a gun shop right next door, or not next door, but Josh calls me up and he goes, "Hey man, there's a flood," and so we just took all the mats out, and they were lined up down the parking lot for the whole weekend, and we're just fingers crossed hoping they dried out, and I think they're good. So
yeah, that's good. Yeah, so when you decided to do that, Frankie, I think that you had just people may not know this, but Acton really started in a garage. Off someone's house, right?
I meant to get a picture of that. I didn't know if you could pop that up there or what, but
yeah. So it was in a garage, and remember how cold it was? They had one of these wall heaters, on the wall, and it was a tiny little thing.
It was.
And then you took that, and then you grew with it, and then you were able to move, and how to navigate through that. Right. And I'm not sure of other people. I'm not sure if people know that you were an avid lifter at one time, and I believed you even, like you said, you owned a gym, and I think it was a gym facility. And right. Now I don't recall. Were you part of a gym at one time in Acton also? Did you own a part, or did you just have a studio in it?
So I moved from the garage to the aerobics room in the gym, and then these guys wanted to sell it, and I had thought, man, what a great idea to have a gym and a dojo, and the same. I always wanted that. I thought that was cool. Mandy and I still talk about that this day. In fact, we were going to do that, but then we didn't understand. We didn't know that Acton Fitness was, I guess, possibly already in the works of opening up. So we missed that window. But that was in the 09, 08 right before everything,
Yeah. I remember.
But I was part of that gym, and friend of mine, we were thinking of buying it, but they just wanted too much for it. Probably should have done it, hindsight, but I don't know.
Right. Well, let's talk about that, because you definitely had some ups and downs. I want to talk about the tenacity you had to keep a gym open on sometimes a shoestring budget, what it looked like, because it's what you've always wanted to do. And there wasn't, I'm sure there was times like all of us were like, man, should we just close the doors or what? And what it did, how you stuck with it and made things happen and how it turned the corner. What was your mindset and stuff like that? I mean, you left home, you came out here, slept on a couch with me, right, in the room, and went yourself to Acton, and then you take over this small little program starting out of a garage and stuff like that. So it takes some kind of fortitude. Where did it come from? Where do you see that from?
I never had it. In the beginning, I had a shoestring budget, so no family. My truck payment was $200. The aerobics room to rent that was like, I don't know, $200 for the month, something like that. And then I just made friends with the owners that owned the center that I have now. Got the building, and then when the tough times started, I just kept a good relationship with them, and it's like, hey, I'm sticking with this. And by that time, I'd already built up clientele, and they, I was getting a little bit of a name for myself, and they fortunately they believed me, so they just hang in there behind me anytime I have some trouble. The first flood we had, they were real nice, and it wasn't my fault over the flood. It always comes from a different building, but the landlords have been really great here. They're also Acton people that have been here since. Someone says, yeah, when the dirt was thrown out in Acton, that's how long they've been there.
Well, isn't that kind of true about small small towns like that, where people started something and when there was nothing, right, and built up a small town, you know what I mean?
It is.
And people don't, I don't know if people don't really know about Acton, but we've got some people from Santa Clarita that kind of, and we have some police officer friends of ours that bought in Acton just because you can still kind of get a ranch and it be relatively affordable. You know what I mean? So
compared to Valley prices, definitely.
Yeah, correct. Right. And so, I remember what it was way back and 20 years ago and what that was. So, I think it says a lot for your character on how you,
well, thank you.
You just, you decided that, I just need to put my head down and do what it does. You know what I mean?
I did do some bouncing around. There was, I never thought about quitting ever. But I did think of moving different towns. I did think of that. I thought about that early on. Grandmaster Chikawa said, he said, you just need to find a place to make your stand. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I'll do.
Yeah. It is. Well, I mean, there's been other schools that's popped up in the area and you're the one that's lasted. I don't know if you have any competition now out there or not.
You know what the biggest competition is, Grandmaster Cox, is the laziness.
Oh, you think? Right.
It's the laziness. You're right. There's been a few schools that's popped up. I had a guy that was teaching on Wednesdays, and when I married Mandy, she comes in. She has this crazy managing people skills that I had no clue about, and she's like, "These guys got to go," But things were missing. Belts were missing, stuff like that. So they moved on. Next thing you know, they open up down the road, but they didn't last.
Right.
You got to have that integrity. People still look for that.
Well, I think so. I think that's true. That's probably how I've got a few schools that are still now in Chatsworth, but believe it or not, there's, I've got, a couple schools here around me that, but the guys are really good dudes, man. I really,
that's cool.
It's, a matter of fact, they've probably sent people to me as I've sent to them. It's a Taekwondo type school, and it's Olympic fighting is what they like to do. And if you're looking for that,
right.
I'm not the fit. But if you're looking for some real get down self defense, and they've done the same thing. And I tell this story quite often about King's Taekwondo in Chatsworth here, and they're students, dude. They all know who I am. I've just been here for so long. I'll be at Trader Joe's or whatever, and one of those students sees me, they'll stop right in the middle of the aisle and just pay their respects and, hey,
That's
Mr.
cool.
Cox. And
cool.
I just always, how do you get mad at somebody in your town when you
Right.
produce that kind of
integrity? That's the way it should be, because it's honestly, it's okay. I believe it's okay to be selective with who we do business with. You kind of run them through, like you said, if you want if you want sport fighting or whatever, if you want to go to this school, if you want to learn how to really defend yourself, come with us. And I've had to do the same thing. And sometimes I've learned the hard way, after. But with wisdom, with age comes wisdom, or whatever that is.
Right.
So
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
now I'm learning, and especially after the COVID lockdown, we were shut down for 12 to 14 months. I was real surprised with this area not being able to open up. I thought being in the country would just, we were going to be able to do what we wanted. But unfortunately, there's lots of Karens around here that if they see something that doesn't follow the guidelines or whatever, then they make calls on you. So it was tough starting back up. And so I have had to be selective with who I train this time around. So we're built back up, and I shouldn't have had to build back in the first place, but that's what we're doing.
Right. Well, I think that's, let's talk. Did you do any Zoom classes, or did you just shut your doors for a couple months?
Well, as you can see, my from trying to get connected this morning, how well my Zoom skill level is. I decided not to do the Zoom. My daughter spent her senior year up in her room on the computer. My son was downstairs on his room spending his 10th grade year. And I'm like, man, I just can't. I don't know if I could do it. And then I didn't know if I didn't have the equipment to make it do. I did try to do some YouTube videos, and I was like, I'm just terrible at this. So I just kept thinking next month we're going to do it. And then I started doing private lessons, and that's when someone called on me. So when we decided to open up, before the official open up, we just went through the back door, and people were doing it everywhere. People were just fed up, and
Yeah. Well, that's true. I mean, it definitely gets that, which, I didn't know about that, how you did that, if you decided to do Zoom or just resume and have to do what you do. I think we all did that, right? We all had to keep our head above water.
Right.
Because I think your wife sells real estate, correct? I mean, Mandy's a real estate agent.
She's killing it. But see, the thing is, during, the time I came out here, I did study real estate a little bit. And so I was like, honey, yeah, you could do the real estate. And it was a perfect time because I helped her do that. And that's kind of what helped me through it. Was I would go help her. And some days I might build a porch, did a lot of painting, plumbing work, this and that, which was also cool too, because I took my son and my nephew and I taught them things. I'm like, all right, today we're going to go build a chicken coop or whatever. And these are all legit things that people have to have done when they move from one place to the other. They just hire us to do it. And, people were complaining. They're like, hey, schools need shop class. Schools need prayer. Hey, guess what? Then we get shut down. Guess what? You're doing shop class and prayer.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. You're 100% on that.
Right.
I remember being in school and having that, and this breeding of laziness that you spoke about before, I believe it's prevalent not just in students but in the parents also, because you get complacent and it's just easy not to do anything.
Exactly.
People may not know that you have a skill. You had some more skills. I think that's a great thing that you just brought up. Your practical skills of being able to roof, being able to build. I mean, I who knows what you helped me with over all these years. When I was at the studio, what you helped me build, or
we did lots of cool stuff down there, didn't
right? We? And and your skill to be able to build something or to put a new roof on something. And I believe that's what's always carried you through. And of course, I guess, you guys with property, you're the one that can fix it to help sell it. You know what I mean? So,
right.
I just, how awesome was that in a pandemic? Because I know construction wasn't on hold. I can tell you that. You know what I mean?
Real estate picked up, and we a fixer house came up, and we had the opportunity to get it. And I'm like, there's my year work right there. So we were blessed to be able to have that.
Yeah, that's good. I've always been that's always been that. People that don't know know that there's definitely a skill that you've had. I mean, there's a couple things about you. I remember that, we kind of chewed the same dirt. I mean, people don't know. People know how much you lifted before. You were you were an avid gym rat, man. And
we were.
Fitness
we would be there for hours.
Yeah, and fitness is something that those are the old pictures you bring out of what Frankie McConnell looked like in his, in his early, late 20s and stuff like that, on the lifting that you did and the construction that you did. It was, it was just a good fit. And so you had this already kind of built-in discipline. You loved the martial arts, and then you kind of decided that, I can take this to the next level, and that's what you did. I think it just says a lot for your character on how you, how you utilize what skills you had and what you have. It's always been one of those things, we never get to talk about, that's what's awesome about this podcasting is I get to really kind of, you get to analyze you guys before I have you on with me and say, wow, there's a lot of stuff. When we're in the midst of things, we really don't know what we've built, you know what I mean? Or what we've sustained. We're just kind of in the mix doing it every day. We don't, when people say to us, oh man, I can't believe what you've done or anything like that. So, I thought, that is a, that is a trait. And I don't know, tell me how you use that in your martial arts school, how you teach others. Tell me how that comes about when you got people that are hurting and stuff like that. How do you take that? How do you take what you've done in the dojo and put it on the outside? How do you do that for your students?
Right. So there's so many ways. There's so many ways to do that. Like, let's go back to the gym thing, and I'll just touch on that shortly. We, like you said, I was a gym rat, and we would spend hours there. That was our social thing. So once I started doing martial arts, and I had a pro dirt bike racer come through here, and he said, "Yeah, this workout's great, but it's too much rest between. It's not consistent." And I'm like, "That's right. That's what we have to do in the gym. You have to limit your rest." Arnold was saying that for years, and I'm like, "What does that mean?" We would just go in and lift and just take turns. When it was our turn, we do. So once I started martial arts training, the gym, I could go there quicker. I could get things done and more efficiently because I was working my breathing, and they worked really well together. I always suggest people sign up to the gym as well. But as far as athletes, I think we've lost a lot of the athletes. Once they get high school, then they're so busy. My son and nephew are in baseball right now, and I probably won't see them much at all, but it teaches martial arts teaches kids to be excellent athletes. And there's no question about that. I think that people miss that. They think, oh, I don't want to do karate or whatever. And so I think it's up to us as instructors to let them know about that, or educate them, as you say, so that, your kid can be a good coachable player. And I've seen that so many times. I've watched team sports, and the ones that stand out are the martial artists. I mean, I coached soccer I had 18 teams from 1997 until 2018. I had 18 teams, and always the martial artists stuck. They were the best ones. They were coachable. But there are some natural athletes that weren't martial artists, so that's not just everybody.
Right. You always have that. You have that mix. So yeah, I want to talk about that because as a school owner, it was pretty taboo to want to go and deal with baseball and soccer, and because those really are our biggest competitors, are after school sports and extra activity. But you kind of dove in. I only coached. I didn't really even coach. I shouldn't say I coached. I didn't really coach. I went and my son Michael did a couple seasons of baseball, and I would go. Yeah, I didn't coach because I wanted to kind of enjoy that process. I don't know if that was really joy, because watching other parents on that field,
oh,
was
it's
so pissed off, dude, all the time. I'm like, these guys suck, man.
Well, the soccer thing was more like I just kind of it was kind of like, if you can't beat them, join them type thing. But I did start with the younger ones, and it did help them learn there was martial arts. But you're right, it's like they'll join that. But here, the reason they join it is because, let me just say this one. I mean, not that soccer is bad or baseball is bad or whatever, but a lot of times parents will put their child in a program. Oh, it's for 3 months. Okay, good. It's only whatever for 3 months. And then that'll pretty much, I'm not going to say babysit them, but that'll occupy their time until the next thing that they're going to try. So I tried to jump in there and get them to be like, no, martial arts is year round. It's going to help you So
And
that's
how was that
always my plan.
strategy? How did that strategy go for you, Frankie? Did you gain students from that, or did you gain students from it, or something had to happen because you did it for such a long time? So
Yeah,
either you got joy out of it, or you were changing lives there,
right.
and did it help your business ultimately at the same time? Is that how you got your name out there?
It was a little bit of both. In the beginning, when I had the younger kids, I did pick up a lot of students. By the time they get to a certain age, especially like maybe like middle school, sixth, seventh, eighth, they've pretty much already set with what they're going to do. I rarely got the older ones. Uh, yeah, it was mostly the younger ones, and I did get a lot of joy out of it. And started getting a little bit of reputation. We'd get to pick teams, and I would know a lot of the parents and students, and I would pick them based on, are these parents cool to get their kids to places on time and stuff like that. So, then we get a little bit of reputation, and it sounded like we were just killing everybody out there. But out of 18 teams, I think we only had about 3 first place teams, but the whole thing was fun.
Yeah. Well, it had to do something for you, dude, because I see
It
that
did.
you had, it's something that you enjoyed, and I know that Jason Flame went on that same thing where he kind of coached his kids
Hmm.
and stuff like that. And I guess you just kind of have to merge it. A martial artist, can you do extra activities and do your martial arts? Well, absolutely, because you probably saw it
Right.
because you coached it, right? And then
Right.
you're like, you know, you take your skills from your mindset from the martial arts school and you put it on the field, and
Yes.
there isn't anything that's better. I'm sure they're the ones answering yes sir, and when the coach says to move, they move, and all that. I've seen
Exactly.
that. I've seen that in myself. I always tell the story about Michael's. I remember watching the coach, and kid coming late, and the coach say you need to run a lap, and this dad just freaks out on the coach. My son's not running a lap. It wasn't his fault, and da da da. I mean, this guy's going off on this coach, and I'm like, man, what are you doing, dude? And so
Right.
I whistled, right, and I said, Michael, stand up, and he goes, yes, Dad, and I said, you take the lap.
Oh, nice.
Okay. And my son's looking at me like, what the heck? And I said, if he's not going to do it, you do it for the team. You go take the lap. And it wasn't really a screw you to Michael as much as it
Mhm.
was a screw you to the dad. Like, you know
Right.
what? You don't want to teach discipline to your kid. I'm going to show you what discipline looks like. And,
Mhm.
you know,
Right.
and those were the kind of things that I think that's right. A martial artist is going to stick out just because of their tenacity and their respect level and stuff like that. So,
Absolutely.
did you coach like you did like you teach?
I did. I did. And with the older ones, you just kind of gradually get tougher. Sometimes I don't have people watching class anymore. It's been a little bit of a blessing with the COVID. I made up some different rules just to be a little safe. And the kid, you know how it is. The younger ones, they're just different, but you have to be tougher with the older
Hmm.
ones. But we
Yeah.
had fun. I coached for all those years, and the more I coached, the more I was like, man, I just do not even know anything about this sport. And so I reeled in a pro soccer coach. His name was Roberto Messina. You can look him up. He moved to Florida and retired, but he started helping me coach, and I just realized I'm like, I've been a white belt coach out here for how long? And this guy is just like, I mean, he was 70 years old. He was out there. I think I have him on my YouTube channel doing drills, and it's just like you're watching this stuff like, wow. So a lot of the little local kids have used them. And in fact, Myra, do you remember Myra Snyder?
Yes, I do.
The Snyders, we went to their house after the
Mhm.
black belt test.
Is
Myra,
that the
that
one
was
that we shot potatoes out of the
yes, potato gun,
cannon?
right?
That
That's
was
some
awesome.
Acton stuff for you, right? But yeah, Coach Roberto was her coach for a while. She ended up getting a scholarship somewhere. I'm gonna get bashed for not knowing where, but anyway, so
Well, that's the thing. What you've opened up for other kids and stuff like that. I want to hit on that on what you said right there because I think that's important. I want to hear people. I want people to hear this from me and you.
okay.
You said that you got a coach because you're like,
Yes,
I need to learn more about this. So you went and found somebody that has more knowledge, more
right.
experience for you to help you on that.
Yes.
And I'm sure that same thing. I'm sure people came to you when they were in the weight room for training, right? I'm sure you were a trainer at one time because people are looking how to lift, correct?
Well, So, okay, you've been to Texas, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so so imagine Texas in the 80s. And if you need something done, all you got to do, if you're standing around, someone is going to come up and tell you how to do something. What I would get was I would get later on. We had Mike and I had the gym, so we would try to do the personal training. We didn't quite know exactly what to do with the nutrition, but most people would want to hang out with me because I'd go roofing all day, come back to the gym, work out at the gym, and I'm in my 20s, so you're in the best shape of your life in your 20s.
Right.
So I think back then there wasn't as much personal training, but
Yeah,
these days
well,
there is.
you're talking about the '80s of bodybuilding. You're talking about
Right.
when we came up. If you went and looked at old pictures of Gold's Gym
Uh-huh.
in the '80s, you didn't see freaking phones
No.
and shit like that. You didn't see selfies.
Yeah.
You saw these freaking guys getting after it, man.
Yeah.
And old school iron weights and not these
No.
plastic things that you can't hear
Right.
clang and stuff like that. I say this quite often. When I set up my own home gym, I said I will only have iron weights. I'm
See,
not
that's
going to
cool.
have any of those plastic things. I want to hear it. I want to hear my dumbbells clank when I do
Mm-hmm.
it. I want to hear it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's how we grew up. So yeah, as far as that goes, that's true. The coaching part, I think, how you went and found somebody, and then that's how we kind of get hired, right? So we
Right.
get, people bring them to us because we've got an expertise in how to, give you some self-esteem and give you some tools to deal with peer pressure. And
Yes.
then the tool we use is martial arts. So you get this self-defense benefit along with it. So it's a unique thing. I just find it, I don't know if you understand the same thing. When I look back on getting a coach and stuff like that, I
Mm-hmm.
wished I would have got a financial coach when I was a young man,
Mm.
right? We'll get
Mm-hmm.
a coach for
Yes.
nutrition. We'll get a coach
Right.
for lifting. We'll get a coach for self-defense. We don't get a coach for finances because it certainly wasn't taught to us in school.
No.
Can you imagine the generation, what it could be if we were taught how to not just make money, but how to invest the money properly
Right.
so that we
Exactly.
could get whatever you want as far as, work towards a retirement. So we're not at, my age, your age, where we're at, and we're still, it's not a choice for me right now whether I can or cannot teach. It's still a must.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, and even if I was financially set for retirement, I would definitely still be teaching class because I
Uh-huh.
just like to get after it. You know what I mean? And I still like to compete and roll
Yeah.
around and do my thing. So, uh, listening to you when you said you got a coach, I wish I'm sure you agree. I wish, we should go after coaching on people that know how to get us to our
Yes.
next level. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Whatever
Well,
that
you
is.
kind of have you have the jujitsu guy coming. I've been looking for. I had one jujitsu guy come on Wednesday, and that just didn't work out. It's kind of tough to get people out
It
here,
yeah.
just for one class. But
Yeah, that's definitely a tough thing. We got very blessed to get Sergio. We got him
Mhm.
really through Georgia. That's where my first exposure to him was,
Oh, okay.
and that's how it happened with Sergio. And then, I had, I've always liked the ground,
Hmm.
but when I got sick and I had those blood clots and stuff like that, and then I got put on blood thinners and told that you can't spar anymore. You can't take stuff. You can't take shots to the head. Now you know how I fight.
Yeah.
I'll take some shots to that head, and you know what I
Right.
mean, and do the stuff, and wow, that really kind of took it out of me, right? And so
Hmm. Hmm.
this gave me a purpose again to be able to feel like I'm a warrior again, and because I can grind on the ground. I'm not
Right.
taking shots to the head, so I can do this
Yeah.
stuff. I might get bruised up a little bit easier because of blood thinners and stuff like that, but I can still get after it. And
Hmm.
so I just really enjoyed it, and it just went off into something great
Yes.
to
I've
add
always
to my
liked that.
arsenal.
I've always liked the cross training with the jujitsu. Now, have I always done it correctly, or? But no. What I like about it the most is I may be doing it wrong, but I liked the way it felt like I was lifting weights because you could try your hardest. And I just felt pumped up after rolling like that. It's been a while, but I'd like to get back into it. Another thing I also noticed was you were talking about being able to, or having the teacher, you just loved it. When we shut down for the COVID, I was just thinking it was going to be a couple of weeks. I'm going to get a little vacation or whatever. 1 week's turn it,
right.
1 week turns into what? How many? 400, 500 days. I really missed it. Then coming back, you lose your endurance. I gained some weight, which I couldn't gain weight before. I was at a standstill. Like, how am I not getting muscle? I'm older now, so the stiffness, I'm like, why am I so stiff? I go snowboarding. I'm like, man, my hips are just killing me now. Good gosh. Tried to hang with my teenage son and nephew. I'm like, they're like, oh, we're just going to go up another 5 times. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to go over here and have a beer. I'll wait on you guys later. Just let me know when you're ready to go.
So I wanted to hit on that with you anyway about you being a dad. Let me tell you what you've done that I've watched, and I wasn't great at this, just so you know, right? So I was a single dad. You know how I rolled back then, but I watched.
Well, you had twice as many kids as I did too, with just true. One, your ratio is hard. I have my wife and I, and then we only have the 2, but then my nephew. So, he's got his place, but
it was tough, but you've done something, and I've watched Michael, my son, kind of adapt this with his wife, and that I've always been kind of a workhorse, right? And I'd work till 3:00 in the morning sometimes, you know what I mean? And I didn't have a lot of this time, but I've noticed you as a dad make sure that, I can't come to training. I'm going this weekend, riding bikes or go hit into the snow or whatever. You've always kind of put a precedent on that. And, and if we're going to talk real, right? I remember back sometimes going, and I'm working my ass off. So I'm thinking these freaking guys just always on vacationing, but really right in my head, I'm like, I'm jealous, right? I'm jealous because they're doing something I should be doing. And so, and as I've gotten older now, right? And I look back on it and I'm thinking to myself, what a bunch of wasted freaking time that I did, where you guys took it to a level of having these. It doesn't mean I didn't have a relationship, great relationship with my kids. I'm not saying that I did. And how my kids grew up is a little bit, different, but, and there's a few things that I do that were my thing. Like, you like to go out there on that camping and hit that road and get your, a little trailer or whatever you guys had and you camp and you ride those bikes and do that stuff. And it was important to you to do. And you made it a priority. And, and to be real, when I look back on it now, even, I noticed, Jason Flame does that. And
Jacob does that too, I think.
Yeah. And so, and my son had to have a real conversation with me because, I was getting on his, case about, hey man, I better be seeing you here more. And he's like, Dad, I'm just going to tell you, man, I'm doing a vacation every year with my wife. And, so when your kids become young adults and you realize that they've seen a mistake that I've done and they're not going to make that mistake. And I just always saw that in you. What it's like to be a dad. It looks like one of probably the favorite things that you had is being a father based on what as I watched you through life. Right.
Definitely. And you worked a lot. They learn work ethic too. Now, all the kids, they learn the work ethic from us as well. And now I'm seeing it like they understand that they need to go get money. They need money. That little Toyota truck is not going to fill. It's not going to get gas on its own. So they're like, hey, you got some work for me to do. I'm like, so they're learning that work ethic as well that they may have not gotten earlier because we're out snowboarding, having a good time. But now they're learning, all this stuff costs money.
Yeah.
You know, they got girlfriends too. They're like, well, we'll just drink water.
That's right. I tell my kids all the time, get yourself a girlfriend, get ready to
Yeah.
get a wallet, bro.
So, but yeah, your kids learn from you whether you're spending time with them or not doing those things.
Right. You know, I saw that in you early on. I've always watched it, and yeah, I think that there's always been kind of a jealousy thing. I said I should have done that, and now that I look back on it, you know what I mean? I'm like, I think that I think that in life, sometimes I tell everybody this. We look down at what other people are doing sometimes because it's something that we're weak at.
Oh, right.
So, you know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
if I was weak if I'm strong at I'm just here working all the time, right? And I'm just doing what I do. And then, you got somebody going off on weekends and then you're like, "Ah, man, you know what? You're just lazy." You know what I mean? And he's
Right.
always off on a freaking vacation,
I can see the way it looks, and
Right.
honestly, we usually don't post until we get back for a safety factor, and I'm not saying we miss. There's some trips. We're going on more trips than you see, but I think I do post a lot of it's because my family back home, cousins, and everybody.
Well, I think
friends.
I think what you've done, Frankie, is by far one of the best things that I've ever seen. And I say this to Jason quite often also. This is something that you've made a priority. Work is not a priority. Work's priority, but it's family is where you at, and you got these memories, and then you got this daughter, your daughter, dude, and some of the notes that she wrote you and stuff like that. I think I talked to about that. There was something that she did. I don't know if she's getting ready to go to school or what she was, but she had written this note to her dad.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm just like, you know what? Who gives a shit if I was working right at 2:00 in the morning when you have that, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
And so, that was big. I just want to tell you that, things that I learn as an older man now and would definitely steer people to say, hey, make the martial arts, a priority. It's your business, but it's your vehicle to be able to, whatever.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be martial arts. It can be whatever it is you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that it should be able to launch you where you can, be more of a dad, you know what I mean, and family man, stuff like that. So, that's just one of those things that I've watched. And I mean, how much have you enjoyed being a dad with those kids?
Oh man, it's the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. That
it's
daughter,
awesome to see him succeed and stuff with, how it is. It's just great.
Right. I watch your boy, he's starting to grow up to be a young man now. Right. And then, but I've got a heart for girls. I always have. Daddies are, we talk about it. Matter of fact, my sons I was at the dinner with all my kids. Right. And they're cutting up with me. Right. They're talking smack. And I'm like, you freaking guys. And, my boys, I'm like, man, I will knock the snot out of you. Right. And then, one of them smarts off and my son, Michael, goes, Danny, you can't talk like that. You're not Ariel. Which was
more truth, right? Yeah, that's some real talk.
Which was a dig, right? And it's just like it was just something. Ariel was a real change in me. You know what I mean? She changed my whole my whole thing about being a pop. You know what I mean? I was a hardcore dad on my sons. You know what I mean? You gotta toe the line. You're gonna do your thing. But
see, I had my girl first, so then there was daddy's girl from beginning. Man, but like now she's bringing boys home, thankfully, that we're meeting them. So my wife told her, she goes, don't worry, dad doesn't like any of the boys. So I said, yeah, just tell them I'll be out in the shop sharpening my knives.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I say the same thing. There's going to be, and what's awesome about based on what I see your daughter do, all men will have to be compared to her dad if they're going to be with her. I can tell you that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And because you set a great example of that over the years. It's been great, man. So, yeah, I wanted to, I wanted. Well, what made you do that, Frankie? Why don't you tell people what made that a focus for you? Being able to, maybe take weekends off and make sure that you spent that time.
Yeah.
What is it that made you want to do that?
You know what? We talk about that a lot, my wife and I. When I first moved to, I'm gonna just say Acton, they were friends and they're inviting me to go dirt biking with them to the lake, whatever. And it was all these families. They were all just, it was Charlie Wallace, Matt White, Chuck Mercier, all those guys that were doing stuff with their family. And so I'm like, that's what I'm gonna do. Gonna have, activities I can do with my family. And I don't know if it was the time. Look, so growing up in Texas, the dads went and did their hunting, or maybe they're fishing, maybe the moms didn't go or whatever. It was just maybe different times. But when I moved out here, that's what I noticed that people were doing in this community. And so that's just what I wanted to be. I wanted to be like them.
Yeah. Well, you definitely succeeded in that, man. You've done a great job as far as that goes. And, so you've got, even though, it's not often said sometimes, people do watch from afar, and human nature is a weird thing. People are either really rooting for you to be successful, or they're rooting for you to fail.
I hear
They
that,
watch everything they do, right?
yeah.
So they're like, instead of be happy for you in your accomplishments, they're ticked off because they don't have and I've seen this more often than not. And as I'm getting a little bit older and older, I probably was in that same thing, right? There's always kind of a little bit of a jealousy thing when you're a young man, like, I want that, or I want more like that, or I want to be more like that, as opposed to applauding those that are doing it and making things happen for themselves in their life, and be excited and possibly learn from what they're doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I haven't this is what I like about this platform. This is why I get people on here, so I can say, hey, I've watched you over all these years. You know what I mean? And
that is cool. I like that.
And being able to say, this is what I've learned from you over these years. You may not know this, but I've watched, and trying to get that positive affirmation out there that's been challenging, and for sure, especially with COVID and everything else, because I'm still kind of a hardcore guy. I don't really change that. You know what I mean? You know how I am. I expect excellence. If you're around me, I expect excellence. If you're going to be around me and you say you want to do things, you better be training. You better be, I'm still kind of a hardcore type of a dude, instructor, but I've watched. How many black belts you have now in your school?
Well, active is one thing, because I've had a lot that haven't come back, and I see them in they've moved on to sports, and some parents are saying they're just lazy. You got to stay on them. I think we've had I've only promoted maybe 80 something in the past 20 years, 28 years.
But still, think in a small town like yours, dude, what 80 sounds
we only have I think the population is around 7,000 people, so it's not a very big.
Right. So think about that. I mean, what's your student count usually? Are you at 100 students, or where do you usually lie?
I'd like to 90 is probably about all I can handle myself.
About yourself. Got it.
And I got up over 100 a few times, and it was just overwhelming. Then I went with Flame to one of those Maya things, and they were saying that one instructor, that you really need 3 instructors if you want to get over 100 people. And I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. No wonder, because I did feel like people were slipping through the cracks. You couldn't relate with the people. Things weren't happening. Testing wasn't going. There wasn't enough testing, things like that. But right now we are at about 65% of what we need after the COVID.
After COVID.
So I need another 35% to get to what will be pretty much normal.
So did you see, Frankie, that, I don't know about you, but my school, it's like we were able to get rid of some, I don't want to call them riffraff. That's not really what I want to say. That's not the right word, but there's just people that want to focus in on negative, they kind of went away, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the new breed that's come in, because we lost a good 60% of students,
Yeah.
and the new batch that's come in, it's just a different animal. Now I have a smaller school like you do in Simi Valley, right? So
Okay.
we have 109 students in that school, and I have
Mm-hmm.
200 and I think 43 right now in the books in Chatsworth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so and this is after COVID now, after trying to build this thing back up. And so you're probably in that realm now. Now,
Yeah.
are you in LA County or not?
Yes. LA County.
Okay. Yeah, we see
We
Ventura County is such a different animal.
It is. We in fact, you were talking about getting new people out with it's a new turnover. I have probably 30% or half of what this is some crazy math. So I have 65% of what I need. Half of that 65% are brand new people. Okay. Do you remember that photo that you and I were just tagged in the other day?
Yes.
And you liked it, and I keep getting notifications. I popped up and I'm looking at it, and because of the attrition rate, I'm looking at the people. There are maybe half of that group have moved out of state. The other part not coming back because of COVID, and then the other ones are older and went to college. So there is no one in that picture, which is, I mean, the picture was what, 214, something like that.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was strange because of the big turnaround we've had with the COVID, being out in this area, when kids get college age, they usually move off. And then we've had that big mass exodus from California, where people.
Well, you know what, dude? That's where we lost a lot of students to moving.
Yeah.
I mean, more than I've ever seen in my entire 30 years of having a school.
Yeah.
Have I seen in the last 3 years people moving out of California,
right,
and going to Idaho, going to Florida, going to Texas,
exactly,
and I was like, wow, and I don't, you're the rare breed that came to California.
I know everybody's like, what do you? You'll see my friends' comments on posts. When are you coming back home? I'm like, I am home. What are you talking about? But that's what California is missing. Is what Texas has, is the spirit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if it'll ever happen, but that's just what Texas has. Like I had a parent apologize to me one day. It was a new parent. She comes in and on the phone, she said, are you from, God, I don't even know what state it was. Let me just say Georgia. And I'm like, no, I'm from Texas. And she immediately apologized because Texas people might get offended if you say they're from a different state other than Texas.
Yeah, that's funny.
But my skin is a lot thicker than that, so
yeah, that's good. So, well, we've seen that now. We've hit on quite some of the stuff that I wanted to talk to you about, because I've seen this progression of you. Do you still love it? Do you still love having the school?
I do. Yeah. We had the chance to. I wanted to do the real estate as well. I want to keep doing that. We're actually thinking of. We've got some land that we're thinking of building on, and I still want to do that. My wife says, you might. It's up to you. You can do what you want. And I was like, yeah, we like it. I want to keep it for sure. I got to get back in shape. I got to get it back to where I want it, so I can't stop.
Right.
Back in the day, I was thinking maybe 30 years. Maybe at 30 years, I'll get some teachers or whatever.
So you don't have much of your black belts here sticking around to help you teach and stuff like that, right?
I've got a couple of younger ones that are here. Most of the time, they start working. I've got Christian Chevalier, and he's in the night class. He's not able to help with the kids' classes. It's kind of tough to get help for the kids' classes unless they get under high school age.
Right. I see. Yeah. That's all hard. I guess it's always kind of been that way on Acton. It's been a different. It's been a different animal it's different. You've had to kind of navigate through what works best for you. You know what I mean? And
Exactly.
I think it's an accomplishment. It doesn't, 80 some black belts in a small town of 7,000 people, I think is a testament of, perseverance and
Thank
tenacity.
you.
You know what I mean? So I think
you.
that's a great thing. I mean, think about the lives that you've changed. You might have 80 black belts, but how many freaking people have you actually
Right.
taught, right?
Oh,
How many
there's some
people?
pictures I wish I could show you. I've got one guy, you'll remember him. He's got his picture with his team with Donald Trump, and he's got his picture with Melania Trump, and they've got their, they got their rifles. When I see you in person, I'll show you the picture. You'll dig it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's why this little town is such a fit for you out there. You know what I mean? At least you feel like, you have a little bit of home behind you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
Right.
it's been good. And I know that, you said you got 20 years in marriage now, and
Mm-hmm.
that's no easy feat either. Being from where my background is. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think that you've taken everything that you've had, Frankie, and you've used your martial arts love to launch you into other things, and I think that it speaks volumes for where you're at.
Thank
So,
you.
it's been good. Yeah, I've been wanting to do this one for a while because I know
Yeah.
you engage with me quite a bit. You know what I mean? Quite often with you've always kind of been a supporter of what I've done, so it's always been good. I was glad I was able to make this one happen. And
yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
Reminisce a little bit. So I don't know. Are you still lifting? Are you still in the gym?
I'm not a member of the gym. I have a few weights at the house, and I have some down here at the dojo, but I don't lift as much as I want to do. I do have a personal goal by the time I'm 60. I want to see if I can get my bench press back up again. I'll probably never get as high as I was because I just work out differently now. But
on my 60th birthday, that was last year, my 60th birthday, I had the same goal, and I did bench 310.
Nice.
And I was like, I benched the 310. And so, and I was, I was pressing the 120s on incline bench on dumbbells. Dude, my wrist hurt so bad after lifting that, from all those years of breaking and all that kind of stuff. All that weight, man, it's just so hard in the joints now. So I had to push my ego aside and change my lifting, which I did. And I'm sure that as an older martial artist, we have to curve things. I mean, things just don't fit well. We didn't, we can hit on this for 2 minutes, but I think breaking is something. Did you go compete yourself in breaking?
I did.
Did you always do it before me, or did you follow in my footsteps? What'd you do with that?
Before you, do you mean, no, you showed me how to do breaking.
Was that me? Because I know that we had a friendly rival. Remember going back and forth on pictures each year.
Yeah. Right.
We'd always we'd write something.
Like,
that's right. That's right. We'd get on each other on pictures. It was fun, man. That was great.
Yeah. I was just thinking about this the other day. There was I think we were at UCLA, or I don't know. You know how I still feel like I'm new out here, but we were at a place. I'm looking around at all these guys like you. They're just having all this setup, and I'm like, how am I going to compete with this? So I get up there and I introduce myself, and I said, I'm Frankie McConnell from Acton, and I don't use towels. And then you and so you said, look, everybody's pulling their towels off there.
Well, you remember that, man. I would, when I would break, right, I'd use penny spacers a lot of times, and and I would dog people about that and say, I'm going to break 11 here with penny spacers. I don't, to have, and then I learned over the years, right, people wanted to see the big bricks break.
Yeah,
man.
they wanted
to see. They didn't care what all that was. They wanted to see the show, and so I saw that. I saw an old picture.
Hey, Adelman.
Yeah, Robbie's listening. So we saw the show. I saw some stuff where you were breaking your bricks in a parade or something like that.
That was Acton Parade.
And stuff like that, Yeah, Robbie did that too. Robbie got into power breaking and creative breaking.
Yeah.
Also, he competed in it. I think. Well, you probably back in the day, right? But all of us I think Frankie Ayers did it. Frankie McConnell, myself. Yeah. I mean, we were busting concrete. But remember how cheap it was?
Yeah. Oh
right?
man, you can't even find those bricks
You
anymore.
can't hardly find them, and if you do find them, they're $1.80 a piece. I'm like, what in the world, man?
Man.
Okay, we'd get those things for 49 cents. I buy a pallet of 100 for for like $50, right? And I'm like, man, those days are long gone.
Tell me about it.
That's a let's go Brandon moment right there. You know what I mean? So it was
Right.
yeah, that was great. That was
Yeah, that was
great. We had a
fun.
lot of fun doing that. So you still break it all?
I try to do it. We haven't had photos in a few years. But we would do it at least every time
Every time
we
photos?
had photos. I got to get Jeff and them back out here. We got to where it wasn't enough people.
Yeah, just not
And
enough students to do it. Yeah.
they just if you put them all in one photo on one album or one poster, it'd be fine. But so we need to get that going again and get that breaking going again. Just I have those pictures up and people comment on those on a daily basis. Is that you?
Yeah, it was all fun, man. I had so much fun doing that stuff. And I do the same thing. I break about once a year at the Christmas parade. I stack up a good 10 bricks or whatever, and I do my forearm break in front of all the judges, and everybody kind of gets out because the judging table's right in front of my studio on
Right.
Devonshire there. And so I'd come out, and then everybody would, watch, and they cheer. And so I said, I just did it in December again. And I'm like, every time I do it, it just brings me back, man. It's
cool.
I just love it. It's just
last time we did the parade, we got, oh man, it seemed like a trailer full of those demo boards, and we had the tiniest person break, and it just like, there's no way we're not winning this parade this time with this little guy breaking this board. There's no way we're not going to win.
Yeah, but, well, that was good, man. That was such a good reminisce about everything, Frank. Yeah, I think it speaks volumes. Some of your wisdom today about family, about how to how to use your other skills. I think us talking a lot about laziness was a great topic at all. You know what I mean? And
right.
And having practical skills. Being able to build things, being able to be all that kind of stuff, has been
self-sufficient.
Yeah, it's just how to be self-sufficient. Stuff not really taught like it was in school. I was telling my kids I had plastic shop, wood shop, auto shop, all in high school. Yeah. All of us guys in high school learning how to change oil in cars and brakes and all that stuff. I did all that stuff myself back when I had my car when I was a young man. Of course, today it's all computerized whack cars, but it's a little bit more difficult than what it is. But changing brakes is changing brakes, changing oil is changing oil.
We have we have a channel where me and my son and my nephews joined on, where we have a Cobra Kai K5 page where we're rebuilding an old diesel 1982 Blazer that's sitting in the garage. It's all right.
That's awesome.
It's pretty cool. I get to spend time with them and do cool stuff.
That's good, man. It's been good going down the road with you, Frankie. I really appreciate it, man. Thanks for getting on with us today. I'll have this thing downloaded today for audio, and you can share it with everybody and your family back out. They'll probably enjoy hearing you.
Sounds good. Go Rams.
Texas. Yeah, the Rams. I was the same way, man. The Rams are right. Well, yeah, we'll be seeing it there. All right.
Good talking to you, sir.
You too. Have a great day, Frankie.
All right. Thanks.